So looking ahead then to the second week of the Dominic Smith Electrical Senior Football Championship, the first game is on Friday night and it's between the Sarsfields and St Martin's. Brian, how way do you think it might go?
It might be closer than people think. Martins will have to improve on yesterday's performance, but they probably will. The Sarsfields will be hard to beat, but I think the Martins might beat him by 4 or 5 points.
David, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, at both have a championship game under their belt. Obviously Sarsfield's coming off a loss, but again, look at Martins are quietly going about their business down below in Pearstown, and solid, if not spectacular, first win. I expect them to follow up this weekend.
Yeah, I think St Martin's will win this game as well, but the Sarsfield should be encouraged by the return to action of Lee Chin today. He played junior football against my own club, Monagear, and he was fairly effective. So they'll be buoyed by that. I do think St Martin's might win the game though. And the second and third games then are a double header in Wexford Park on Saturday. The first of them is between Horeswood and Glynn Barntown. So we'll go to David first.
Yeah, look at, I mean, again, right, Glynn Barntown, good win under their belt, if not overly impressing last weekend. Horeswood obviously are hoping to get a few back in Jamie Myler and a few more. But again, look at the momentum of a win, I think, and the disappointment of a loss for Horeswood might be the deciding factor here, and I expect Glynn to follow up here.
And Brian, we'll have you comment on your own club against Glynn Barntown.
Yeah, I don't want to fall out with Lee now, but anyway, look at Horeswood will have to improve a lot on yesterday. Glynn have a win under their belt, so they're going to be in good form going into it. It's Glynn, I'd say, by a similar margin, probably 4 or 5 points.
I think this one might be actually quite tight. I wasn't overly impressed with Glynn here on Friday night. They missed a lot of chances. I suppose if they had taken them, they would have won by a big margin and we would have been all very impressed with them. But I expect a response from Horeswood. I think it'll be a tight game, but I think Glynn might just shade it. And that'll lead us on then to the Shelmaliers against Fethard, Brian.
Yeah, the advantage, I suppose, the Shells have the game under their belt from this weekend, but if there's any team that you wouldn't write off, it'd be Fethard, and it's the kind of game that there might just be an upset in. It wouldn't surprise me if Fethard turned them over.
David? Yeah,
Fethard will be reeling from the relegation in the hurling, and I'm sure they've regrouped down there and are going to have a big say in this football championship. But again, look at Shelmaliers are good win under the belt this weekend. Hoping, I'm sure, to get Owen Nolan back at some stage. I mean, I think the Shells will have a big say in this championship, and I think they'll win this weekend.
And I'll have to agree with the two lads, or with David. I think the Shelmaliers might win the game. Don't be surprised if it's a draw. There's always a draw or two in the early rounds of the football championship, but I think the Shelmaliers might win it. The third game that is on Saturday then is between Castletown and Bunclody. So two teams that ended up in different areas of the championship last year. Brian, what way do you see this one going?
Yeah, it's a difficult one for Bunclody again. The game here this evening will absolutely crown Castletown, and you know, with the utmost respect to Bunclody, it's very difficult to see anything only a Castletown win in that one next weekend.
David?
Yeah, look at likewise, probably Castletown victory for me. Bunclody, obviously coming off the back of a hurling defeat, they'll have taken a couple of weeks to lick their wounds up there. A couple of good young players in Kieran Regan and whatnot coming through, but and obviously Kieran Kavanagh will be a huge loss to Bunclody in this championship. But so look at Castletown look to have improved slightly from last year based on this evening's evidence, and I expect them to win this weekend.
And I think Bunclody will certainly give it a good rattle, but I think they might have the game against Kylenearan as a bit more of a winnable game. But I do think Castletown will just have a bit too much in this game. And the final game then is between last year's county champions, the Starlights, and St James. So David, we'll get your thoughts first.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to go with all the favourites. Probably, this is where I think the upset will be. The James is coming in fresh. Kevin O'Grady, obviously, be relying on him a lot. Matt O'Hanlon, and I thought they did really well in last year's championship, and were unlucky not to win their quarter final against the Starlights. I think they'll overturn that result this weekend. So yeah, James is for me in a tight game.
Brian?
Yeah, that will be a tight game, and that could be the game of the weekend. I have a slight preference for the Starlights again because they've had the game under their belt, and you know the Starlights tend to get better game by game. I think the Starlights will have too much for them.
And yeah, I think it'll be a tight game, as the two lads have said. I was very impressed with St James against the Starlights last year. There was a few lads went off injured at crucial times, and that was really the turning point in the game. The Starlights with the game under their belt, I think we saw in the hurling championship that made a difference to teams. So I'll give them the nod, but I do think St James are a fine team.